All right, let's talk about Kirk Franklin really quickly. Let's talk about Kirk Franklin. I watched a video some few days ago. I sent it to my wife. I said, "Watch this video," right? But she actually sent me another video. She sent me Dr. Shola's video with his wife. I haven't got a chance to watch that yet. I need to watch that too. It's been on my mind because of this video. I was like, oh, she sent me something. I need to watch it. But so yesterday we were in the middle of watching Sex Lives. It's called Sex Lives, right, on Netflix, right? The series, right? We were watching that together, and I think we're 2 episodes in. We're binge watching, right? And I forced her to stop. I said, no, we have to go. I need you to watch the Kirk Franklin thing right now. It's about 23 minutes or so, like that, because I haven't had a video had that much effect on me in a very, very long time, right? Like I was just like, it's like I wanted to say so. I usually would talk in the middle of watching shows together. I wanted to say something, but my voice, I felt like my voice was shaking. I would tell myself that, I was like, no, I'm not gonna cry, and that would be the second time I'm watching it, right? And he had that much effect on me. What about Kirk Franklin? Well, Kirk Franklin is arguably the biggest gospel rock star in the world. I think so. Is there anybody else? I don't think so. Kirk Franklin is the Michael Jackson of gospel music. Anybody else? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Okay. Do me a favor, share. Something is happening here. I don't know what's going on. Help me share. Just hit on the share button and share this video out to everybody, to your community page on your own channel and stuff like that. I'll appreciate that if you do that. Thank you so much. Okay, so back to Kirk Franklin. So there's this he's releasing an album called The Father's Day. Okay. Now I'm interested in the album, but I haven't really engaged in the full album in a long time. Maybe the most recent one is Cashapp. Maybe. Even that one I didn't really fully listen to the whole thing. But I feel like I'm gonna have to listen to this one, right? And what is going on? Kirk Franklin in 2017, he thought he had buried his biological father. He's adopted. He's adopted by a 64-year-old woman who is a far what did he call it? A far relative, right? That woman was 64. He was 4 years old. But basically, he had a lot of struggles growing up. Her homelessness, church boy, his own personal issues and stuff like that. He even had, I think he had his firstborn when he was in his 20s, early 20s, right? Outside of wedlock. And he has trouble with that boy today. We've covered that story here before in the past. So Kirk Franklin is 53 years old. And in 2017, some man, I'm not sure if it's the mother that told him that's your father or something like that. Some man passed away on his, lost battle to cancer or something like that. And he flew there. That person was losing their life. He thought it was his father, his biological father, and that person went and passed away. And he thought that was his father. And in recent times, basically, there was a rumor, I guess, in their local, in some local church in the neighborhood that he grew up in. Well, some family members in the church where his auntie attends, but a lot of people from his mother, his biological mother's childhood, goes to that church. All right. Correct me if I'm saying anything wrong, by the way, if you watched the show with me, because I did post it into the group yesterday for everyone to go watch. But anyway, so the auntie, the church that the auntie goes to, some of the childhood friend. Now, the auntie, this is biological auntie. So he knows his biological mother. It's just that they never had a relationship. The only thing he's remembered his life, he's always been adopted. That's all he remembers. But the biological mother will go and come maybe about twice a year throughout his childhood. And he has a lot of trauma around that. He has a lot of resentments towards feeling like he wasn't good enough, that he could go with her every single time. And he made an analogy to make it seem like it's actually better for people who are completely adopted and they don't know any family member, because it's a scar. The way he said is that it's a scar, and at least it's healed, it's a scar, you just know it's a thing. But for him, every time she comes back, that once or twice a year, It's like somebody's ripping the wound open every single time. And he's 53 years old now, and this is all he's known all his life. So anyway, there was some conversations that happened in that local church where his auntie attends, and then the auntie, her name was Sandra. Her name is Sandra. Auntie's husband, has a friend, and the friend was like, now Kirk Franklin, listen, I'm probably butchering it. You should go watch it yourself, okay? But I'm going to tell you anyway because there's a lesson I want to extract out of this, okay? So, but his biological mother, the name is Deborah, okay? She's alive. She's well alive, okay? But she seems like an older lady, maybe in her 70s, maybe closing in on 80, maybe, who knows, right? So there's this young man, not young. He probably is in his 70s too. Somewhere in the late 60s to 70s, and he was just having a conversation. He's a friend to Auntie's husband, right? And he was having a conversation. He said, "You know what? I dated Deborah when I was a little boy." That's all he said, right? He said little boy. He didn't say when I was a young man. He didn't say when I was in the 20s. He said, "I dated Deborah when I was a little boy." That's all that was said. And then people started adding 1 + 1 together. And people, this is them together. Do you think they look alike? You tell me if you think they look alike, okay? And that's all that was said. And then the rumor started going around, and they're like, "Oh, you know what? This may be Kirk Franklin's father, And he said that all for a long time since he's become popular. He's been a rock star for the longest, since the early 90s, right? So he said there are many people that came forward that said, because he's always told the story that he doesn't know his father. There are many people that came along that would, say, "Hey, I could be your father," stuff like that. But, it was just usually a waste of time. But this time around, it's too close to the family, too close to the home, right? And then this, I called him young man earlier, the older one, right? He now did a swab of his own mouth and then sent it that they should give it to Kirk Franklin if he ever decides that he wants to know. And then, the curiosity kills the cat, obviously, right? He decided to do the test, and the test came back 99.9999999. Positively, he's the father, okay? So now, if you go watch the video yourself, trust me, you're getting only 1% of the effect that video is going to have on you, okay? From me narrating it, right? So he decided that, the first thing he said after he came back to the phone, because he was dancing around the room, like going back and forth when he heard the news. At the age of 53, you're finding out that somebody is biologically your father, scientifically proven, right? And then he came back to the phone and he was like, "She lied to me again?" Right? Okay, now here's the part that I missed earlier. Deborah, who is biological mother to Kirk Franklin, actually left a message and said, "If you ever want to know anything, I would not lie to you. You can come to me." And they had not, before that voicemail, they had not spoken for 23 years. Okay, 23 years minus 53. 53 minus 23 was that 30 years. When he was 30 years old or thereabout was the last time he's spoken to his biological mother. So they don't have that relationship. They had never had that relationship before. So now that he has this result in his hand, he decided that he wanted to meet his auntie. It seems like he has some level-headed relationship with the auntie. Not so clean, but he wanted to meet the auntie, Sandra, and Deborah. And they met and then decided to share the results on the same day because he didn't want anybody sharing any news anywhere, right? And then he shared the results, and the woman said, I'm paraphrasing a little bit, she said, "It's impossible." She said it's impossible. She said, she used a word. She said she swear on her grave, something like that, that it's impossible. So now that calls for, you know what? Let's do a second test. They decided to do a second test. Came back with the same result. She insisted. Right? I'm going to say, that's all I'm going to say about that. Okay. Now, here's the thing. The lesson I wanted to get out of this. Some people are so broken. When you say some people are broken, right? When you say people are broken, when you say people have trauma and people have issues, okay? When you say people have issues that you can remotely attribute to some kind of mental condition, what they do is, even at the mildest level, they tell themselves a lie. They tell themselves a story. And the worst part about that is that they can actually believe that story. Right? And this story can be far, like I said, like pragmatically speaking, can be so far from reality, even scientifically proven. And they've told themselves that story long enough, right? That they believe it, and it's very hard. The sad part about this is that you could literally see through Kirk Franklin. Even if you look at this picture, you can see that the 7, 8, 9, 10, 12-year-old boy is missing something. And one of the things that he obviously was missing, a connection with a father. No fathers. It's not like, some people have had the privilege of having a father figure, maybe a stepfather who acted like a father. No father, nothing, right? Some people have had that privilege, but he didn't have any of that, right? So he was missing that. Another thing he was missing is a mother, right? He had the adopted, the what do you call them? The woman who adopted him was much older when she did, right? He had that. So we can say, okay, he had that gap was filled a little bit, right? But he cried out, he said, I need my mama, right? And this woman could not give that moment to him. Now, we could say, hey, DNA, I can't trust those people in the labs. But if you look at the picture on the screen right now, okay, some lame people will say, oh, they could look alike, doesn't mean it's the father. No, you're stupid. Some people look alike. We know what people look alike, and we know when people look like a person, and especially if that's aligning together with a DNA test twice. The only pass I can give is that she's broken, and she just doesn't have what she can't give. She doesn't have it, she can't give it. She can't even give it to her own child. Remember yesterday we were talking about unconditional love, and some of us tried to say, okay, maybe motherly love is close to it, right? That's a biological mother, okay? Her son was adopted by a far relative. Is still a relative. In Nigeria, to us, we don't call that adoption, by the way. That's like you live with a relative, you live with an auntie, okay? How many? I can't tell you how many cousins lived with us growing up, okay? So those people now, if they were Oyinbo people, they call them adopted, right? But usually they go back and have, because they go back to have relationship with their biological mother, if it's that close, right? But in America it's a little different. Once you're adopted, you're adopted. If you don't have that relationship, you don't have it. Even the ones that have relationship with their mother, they're disrespectful to their mother directly. If they don't have the relationship, they will just tell you, like, we don't have relationship, it is what it is. We don't, right? So I'm looking at this, I'm like, mental health, right? Mental health is something that we need to pay more attention to in general. We can't, it's a terrible excuse. You can't say, oh, these Oyinbo people, all these women are bringing this thing. Mental health, emotional intelligence, it's very, very important. You need to understand these things, because everything else fall apart when you discount emotional intelligence. Okay. Now this young man, I call him young man, he's 53 years old. This is just pain he's gonna have to take to his grave. It's just what it is. Okay. He's just gonna have to take this pain to the grave. I don't think she has it in her. She can't give what she doesn't have. It's an extremely good chance that she's coming from her own place of pain, right? Somebody's gonna look at that and say, but Ola, you're giving her an out. She should be held accountable. Okay, good luck. Good luck holding her accountable. Okay. Now there's some speculations here and there. Did she cheat? She probably cheated. Did she have multiple relationships going on at the time? Yes. Was this little boy significantly younger than her at the time she got pregnant? Could she have been maybe 25 years old and I was a little boy, a 16-year-old? We don't know. It's possible. It's all kind of things possible. Why is it? What kind of shame has she been avoiding for 53 years? That you think you can hold her accountable and she will now suddenly. She could. But for what we have right now, she's not. She said over her dead body, she said she can swear. Even though there's 2 scientific reports showing that, yeah, did sperm jump at you or something? How did this man end up fathering your son? Scientifically spoken. Listen, go watch the video. Okay, the video is called Father's Day. Just search Father's Day Kirk Franklin on YouTube, and if you want, we can still talk about it later, but yeah, Princess, what's going on, Princess? Good to see you. D-Love, how far? How you doing? Yeah, so that's the Kirk Franklin story that I wanted to share with you. I do want you to go watch it. I felt goosebumps every single time of the 2 times that I watched it. Okay, it's just a very, very sad situation. And we're connected because we have, listen, I can't water down biological connection, right? Especially when that void was never filled, right? It's different when people don't have their biological parents in their life, but there's a stepfather, a stepmother that stepped in. That's different, okay? But when that person has been searching for 53 years, I don't know what to tell you. That's a lot. Pay attention to more attention to emotions. Okay, what that means is that you'll be able to prevent having your emotions lead you in life decisions. It doesn't mean you let emotion lead you. It means the opposite. It means you are aware that emotions no be your mates. It's time to pay attention to something that most people don't pay attention. When you get triggered, when you get offended, when you get betrayed, right? You end up betraying other people. Potentially, you might end up betraying some other people that you will hope you never have to betray. Okay? Sometimes you actually don't realize you're doing it. You're telling yourself these lies off of limited understanding of how life works. Every time you discount emotions, right, and you call it logic, right, you're discounting a significant variable in how we operate as human beings, right? And you effectively operate out of your emotions for the most part, right? And then you hurt people that you love the most, and potentially you hurt yourself. You remove yourself from the experience of life, right? All she needed to do is say, it's a day of shame for her. See how simple as that sounds? It's an extremely hard thing for her to do. Extremely easier said than done, right? She can't do it because she's holding on to something. She's holding on to whatever we don't know. She's holding on to something, and she's ready to, at this point, at least in time, to go to her grave with it. She told herself story is satisfying some kind of emotional need, and she would rather hurt everything else.